True love begins within. It is the foundation upon which all other forms of love are built. Without it, we are like a tree without roots, easily swayed by the winds of external circumstances, seeking nourishment in all the wrong places. The idea of self-love is not new, but its importance is often overshadowed by society's emphasis on external validation. From an early age, we are taught to measure our worth by how others perceive us, by how much we are liked, admired, or desired. But these measures are fleeting, like trying to hold water in our hands. The essence of true self-love lies in realizing that we are already whole, regardless of external approval. To love oneself is not an act of arrogance or self-indulgence, it is an acknowledgement of one's inherent value. It is the quiet recognition that beneath all the roles we play and the masks we wear, there exists a being worthy of love simply because it exists. This love is not conditional on achievements, beauty, or status. It does not depend on the validation of others. It is the kind of love that says, I see you, I accept you, I cherish you as you are. Self-love requires courage. It is not always easy to look within, to face our flaws, fears, and insecurities. Yet this act of self-reflection is where the journey begins. To love oneself fully, we must embrace the entirety of who we are, the light and the shadow, the strengths and the vulnerabilities. This is not a process of denial or perfectionism, but of acceptance. In accepting our imperfections, we find freedom. In loving our flaws, we find strength. This kind of love transforms the way we engage with the world. When we love ourselves, we no longer seek to fill an inner void with the affection or approval of others. Instead, we become self-sustaining. Our relationships shift from needing others to complete us to sharing our completeness with them. We stop looking for love in others as a way to feel whole and start offering love from a place of abundance. The journey to self-love is deeply personal, yet it has universal significance. It is a reminder that the source of love does not reside outside of us but within. When we anchor ourselves in this truth, we become unshakable. The noise of criticism and rejection no longer drowns our inner voice. We begin to trust ourselves, to honor our needs, and to set boundaries that protect our well-being. In loving ourselves first, we align with the essence of who we are. This love is not static but dynamic, constantly evolving as we grow. It allows us to show up in the world authentically, unapologetically, and with a heart full of compassion, not just for others, but for ourselves. Self-love, then, is not the destination but the beginning, the seed from which all meaningful connections grow. It is the quiet revolution that changes everything. The pursuit of external validation is one of the most persistent illusions in human life. From childhood, we are conditioned to seek approval from others, parents, teachers, friends, and eventually society at large. This approval feels like a measure of our worth, a reflection of whether we are good enough, smart enough, or successful enough. It becomes an invisible thread guiding our choices, behaviors, and even our identities. But this thread is fragile, constantly shifting, and ultimately incapable of providing the fulfillment we crave. External validation is alluring because it offers an immediate, tangible sense of recognition. A compliment, an award, or even a simple nod of approval can feel like a warm light in a dark room. Yet, like a drug, its effects are temporary, leaving us wanting more the moment it fades. This cycle creates a dependency, where our self-esteem becomes tied to how others perceive us. We mold ourselves to fit expectations, sacrificing authenticity for acceptance, unaware that this path leads us further from the truth of who we are. The illusion lies in the belief that others' approval can define our value. We chase the approval of people who may never fully understand our struggles, dreams, or essence. We measure ourselves against societal standards that are often arbitrary and unattainable. This endless chase is exhausting because it is rooted in something outside of our control. No matter how hard we try, there will always be someone who disapproves, someone whose expectations we fail to meet. This reality reveals the hollowness of external validation. It is a mirage, promising fulfillment but offering none. What makes this illusion particularly dangerous is its ability to mask our inner voids. When we rely on others to validate us, we neglect the deeper work of understanding and accepting ourselves. We build a facade, hoping that if enough people admire it, we might begin to believe in it ourselves. But this facade is brittle. The slightest criticism can shatter it, leaving us vulnerable and unsure of who we are without others' applause. Breaking free from the illusion of external validation requires a shift in focus from seeking approval outside to finding acceptance within. It begins with recognizing that our worth is not something others can give or take away. It is inherent, independent of achievements, opinions, or circumstances. This realization is liberating because it places the power of self-worth back into our hands. Learning to validate ourselves is a process. It involves listening to our inner voice, honoring our values, and appreciating our unique journey. It means embracing our imperfections and celebrating our progress, no matter how small. As we cultivate this inner validation, we become less affected by external judgments. Praise becomes a pleasant bonus. Not a necessity. Criticism becomes an opportunity for growth, not a verdict on our worth. When we transcend the illusion of external validation, we reclaim our authenticity. We stop living for others' approval and start living for ourselves, grounded in a love that no one can take away. In this freedom, we find a peace that external validation could never provide. Facing oneself is among the most profound acts of courage a person can undertake. It is a journey inward, away from the distractions of the world, and into the quiet, often unsettling depths of our being. It requires us to look at ourselves not as we wish to be seen, but as we truly are, with all our strengths, flaws, dreams, and fears laid bare. This process is neither easy nor comfortable, yet it is essential for growth, healing, and authenticity. The world provides endless ways to avoid this confrontation. We busy ourselves with work, relationships, and entertainment, hoping to drown out the quiet voice within. But avoidance comes at a cost. When we ignore our inner selves, we lose touch with who we are. We become strangers to ourselves, operating on autopilot, shaped by external influences rather than internal truths. Over time, this disconnection can lead to a sense of emptiness, as though something vital is missing. To face oneself is to break this cycle. It is a decision to stop running, to sit with the discomfort, and to explore the parts of ourselves we've hidden away. This exploration often reveals truths we would rather not see: regrets, fears, insecurities, or patterns of behavior that no longer serve us. These truths can be painful, even overwhelming, but they are also liberating. They allow us to understand ourselves more fully, to see the root causes of our struggles, and to begin the work of transformation. Courage is required because this journey is inherently vulnerable. It asks us to shed the armor we've built to protect ourselves from judgment, both our own and others. It asks us to admit that we are not perfect, that we have made mistakes, and that we have wounds that still need tending. This vulnerability, however, is not a weakness. It is a strength, a sign that we are willing to be honest with ourselves, no matter how difficult that honesty may be. The reward for this courage is immense. In facing ourselves, we reclaim our power. We stop being controlled by the parts of us we've ignored and start integrating them into a fuller, richer sense of self. We gain clarity about our values, our desires, and our purpose. We begin to heal old wounds, not by burying them, but by acknowledging and learning from them. This process fosters a deep sense of self-acceptance, the kind that no amount of external validation can provide. Facing oneself is not a one-time act, but a lifelong practice. Each new phase of life brings fresh challenges and opportunities for self-discovery. With each act of courage, we deepen our understanding of who we are and strengthen our ability to navigate the world with authenticity and grace. This journey is not always easy, but it is always worth it, for in the courage to face the self, we find the freedom to truly be ourselves, a freedom that transforms not only our relationship with ourselves, but with everyone around us. Reclaiming identity is a deeply personal yet universally significant act of self-discovery and empowerment. It is the process of taking back what has always been ours, the essence of who we are beneath the expectations, roles, and labels imposed upon us by others. This journey is not about becoming someone new, but about peeling away layers of conditioning to reveal the authentic self that has always been there, waiting to be acknowledged and embraced. From the moment we are born, we begin to absorb ideas about who we are supposed to be. Family, culture, and society shape our sense of self, often without us realizing it. We are assigned roles: daughter, son, student, worker, and are told what is expected within each role. Over time, these expectations can overshadow our inner voice, leaving us disconnected from our true identity. We start to live for others' approval, striving to fit into molds that may not align with our true nature. Reclaiming identity begins with recognizing this disconnection. It is the moment we realize that the life we are living may not fully reflect who we are. This awareness can be unsettling, but it is also a powerful catalyst for change. It sparks the desire to uncover the parts of ourselves that have been suppressed or forgotten, to understand what we value, and to live in alignment with those values. This process requires courage and honesty. Reclaiming identity often means questioning long-held beliefs and challenging societal norms. It may involve setting boundaries with people who have defined us in ways that no longer feel true. It can mean stepping away from environments or relationships that stifle our growth. These choices are not easy, but they are necessary to create space for the authentic self to emerge. The act of reclaiming identity is deeply introspective. It involves exploring our past, examining the stories we tell ourselves, and identifying where those stories came from. Are they our own, or were they handed down to us? In this exploration, we may uncover hidden passions, unspoken dreams, or forgotten strengths. We may also encounter fears and doubts, remnants of a time when we felt we had to hide parts of ourselves to belong. Acknowledging these truths, both empowering and painful, is a critical step in reclaiming who we are. As we shed the expectations of others and embrace our authentic selves, we begin to feel a sense of freedom. This freedom is not about rejecting everything we've been taught, but about choosing what aligns with our true nature. It's about becoming the author of our story rather than a character in someone else's script. Reclaiming identity is a transformative journey that allows us to live with greater purpose and joy. It's a return to ourselves, a reunion with the person we were always meant to be. In reclaiming our identity, we not only find fulfillment for ourselves, but also inspire others to embark on their own journeys of self-discovery. This ripple effect creates a world where authenticity and individuality are celebrated, making it a better place for all. Finding balance between self and others is a delicate dance, one that requires awareness, intention, and the willingness to navigate the ever-shifting dynamics of relationships. It is not about choosing between the two, but about creating harmony, where neither the self is neglected, nor the needs of others are overlooked. This balance is essential for healthy relationships and a fulfilled, authentic life. Society often places conflicting demands on us. On one hand, we are taught to be selfless, to give, to care for others, and to prioritize their needs. On the other hand, we hear the call to honor ourselves, to protect our boundaries, and to pursue our personal growth. This tension can leave us feeling pulled in opposite directions, unsure of how to reconcile these competing priorities. The key lies in recognizing that self-love and love for others are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they are deeply interconnected. Loving oneself is not selfish, it is foundational. When we prioritize our well-being, we have more to offer to those around us. A well-nourished self is like a full cup that overflows, while neglecting ourselves leaves us drained, unable to give in meaningful ways. Similarly, when we cultivate genuine connections with others, their support and love enrich our own lives, providing strength and inspiration. Balance begins with self-awareness. It requires us to listen to our inner voice and understand our needs, values, and limits. This awareness helps us set healthy boundaries, an essential part of maintaining balance. Boundaries are not walls, they are guidelines that protect our energy and allow us to engage with others authentically. Saying no when necessary is an act of self-respect, and it ensures that our yes is wholehearted and meaningful. Equally important is empathy and compassion for others. Balance does not mean prioritizing ourselves at the expense of those we care about. It means being present for others without losing ourselves in the process. This involves active listening, understanding their perspectives, and offering support while maintaining our sense of self. True compassion is not about fixing others or sacrificing our well-being. It is about walking alongside them with understanding and care. Challenges arise when we swing too far in one direction, either neglecting ourselves to please others or isolating ourselves in the name of self-preservation. Both extremes lead to imbalance and disconnection. The middle path requires ongoing adjustment, as relationships and circumstances are dynamic. It's a practice of checking in with ourselves and those we love, ensuring that our actions align with our values and that our relationships remain reciprocal and nourishing. Striking this balance brings a sense of harmony and authenticity. It allows us to show up fully in our relationships, offering love and support without resentment or burnout. At the same time, it empowers us to pursue our own growth and happiness, knowing that our well-being is as important as anyone else's. This balance is not a fixed state, but a fluid, evolving process, a lifelong practice of honoring both the self and others in equal measure. The power of saying no is a transformative force in our lives. At first glance, saying no might seem like a negative act, one of rejection or denial, but in truth, it is an affirmation of self-respect, clarity, and intention. It is an act of choosing what aligns with our values, protecting our energy, and creating space for what truly matters. In a world that often equates busyness with worth and compliance with kindness, saying no can feel revolutionary. Many of us are conditioned to say yes out of a desire to please others or avoid conflict. We fear that saying no might disappoint someone, damage a relationship, or make us appear selfish. This fear can lead to overcommitment, burnout, and resentment as we take on tasks, responsibilities, and obligations that don't serve us. While saying yes can be a generous act, it becomes harmful when it comes at the cost of our well-being or priorities. Saying no, on the other hand, is not an act of rejection, but an act of discernment. It is the recognition that we cannot do everything, and that our time and energy are finite resources. When we say no to something that does not align with our goals, values, or capacity, we are saying yes to something else: our rest, our creativity, our relationships, or our growth. Every no creates space for a deeper, more meaningful yes. The power of saying no lies in its ability to set boundaries. Boundaries are not barriers, they are tools for maintaining balance and authenticity in our lives. They help us protect what matters most to us while fostering healthier relationships. When we say no with clarity and kindness, we communicate our needs honestly, creating opportunities for mutual understanding and respect. This can be challenging, especially with those closest to us, but it ultimately strengthens relationships by building trust and authenticity. Learning to say no requires practice and self-awareness. It begins with knowing our limits and priorities. What truly matters to us? What are we willing to make time for? Once we are clear on these answers, it becomes easier to recognize when a request or opportunity does not align. Saying no does not always require a detailed explanation. Sometimes a simple, polite decline is enough. The key is to express it with confidence and grace, free from guilt or apology. The act of saying no can feel empowering. It reminds us that we have agency over our lives and that we are not obligated to meet every demand placed upon us. It is an acknowledgement of our worth, that our time, energy, and well-being are valuable and deserving of protection. Over time, this practice builds a stronger sense of self, enabling us to live more intentionally and authentically. Saying no is not about shutting others out or shirking responsibility. It is about creating space for what matters, honoring our boundaries, and living in alignment with our true selves. In embracing this power, we step into a life of greater purpose, balance, and freedom. The ripple effect of self-love extends far beyond the individual. When we love ourselves, we create waves that touch not only our own lives, but also the lives of those around us. It begins as a small, quiet shift within, but over time this shift spreads outward, influencing our relationships, our communities, and even the broader world. Self-love is not a selfish act, it is a powerful force that enhances our capacity to give, connect, and create positive change. At the core of self-love is the understanding that we are worthy of care, respect, and compassion. When we truly love ourselves, we begin to set boundaries that protect our energy and mental health, allowing us to show up more fully in the world. This internal transformation affects how we interact with others. We no longer seek validation or approval from outside sources because we have already given ourselves permission to be enough. This shifts the dynamic in our relationships as we engage with others from a place of wholeness rather than neediness. We offer love without expectation, and in doing so, we create more genuine, reciprocal connections. As we embrace self-love, we become more compassionate not only toward ourselves but also toward others. We begin to recognize that others too are worthy of love and understanding, and we extend that same compassion to them. This fosters an environment where kindness, empathy, and mutual respect flourish. The energy we project, grounded in self-acceptance, has a subtle but powerful effect on those around us. We inspire others to treat themselves with the same kindness and respect, creating a cycle of positive reinforcement that ripples through our relationships. Self-love also empowers us to be more authentic. When we love ourselves, we no longer feel the need to conform to external expectations or hide parts of ourselves to gain approval. We stand tall in our truth, which encourages others to do the same. This authenticity cultivates an atmosphere of freedom and creativity, where people feel safe to express their true selves without fear of judgment. As we embrace our uniqueness, we empower others to embrace theirs, creating a space where individuality is celebrated and diversity is honored. In the broader context, self-love can lead to collective transformation. A society where individuals practice self-love is a society where people prioritize their well-being, health, and happiness. When we love ourselves, we are more likely to take care of our physical and mental health, which has a direct impact on the community. We become better caregivers, better leaders, and better friends because we are coming from a place of abundance rather than scarcity. The ripple effect of self-love also extends into our contributions to the world. When we are grounded in self-worth, we are more inclined to use our gifts and talents to make a positive impact. We create art, offer service, and engage in work that reflects our values and passions. This creates a ripple of inspiration, encouraging others to do the same, and leading to a collective rise in creativity, collaboration, and kindness. In essence, the ripple effect of self-love is the quiet revolution that has the power to transform not only individual lives but the entire fabric of society. It begins with the simple act of loving ourselves, and from there it radiates outward, touching everyone in its path and creating a more compassionate, authentic, and connected world.